What's good, everyone? It's your boy Zach, and welcome back to Grailbound Gaming for video pickups number 7. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you all my most recent retro video game pickups. That's right, only retro, no modern whatsoever. And best believe I'm going to be covering the entire spectrum of video games. I'm talking about commons, bangers, heavy hitters, and yes, even a few grails. So if that sounds exciting to you, I definitely encourage you to watch the video all the way through from the beginning to the end. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay everyone, let's go ahead and get started with the pickups. I first want to start off with some Game Boy Color games, with the first one being Pokemon Red. That's right, Pokemon Red. I am on a mission to collect all of the Game Boy Color Pokemon games, and I grew up playing Pokemon Blue and Pokemon Yellow, but I never played Pokemon Red. And what was cool is back in the day, you know, if you didn't have a specific game for the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, you would just borrow games from your friends, just trade and play. So that's how I was able to actually play Pokemon Blue and Pokemon Yellow. So I'm definitely happy to, you know, have Pokemon Red now in the collection, and I definitely will be collecting all the other ones. And next up is a couple of games that I've been looking for quite a long time. For some reason, I just never jumped the gun on adding these games to the collection, but I knew that I wanted to find these games in perfect condition. One is a prequel, the other one is like a sequel or more of like a counterpart, and that is The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons, right here, and also the Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages. Man, just thinking back to my experience with the Game Boy Color, the very first Zelda game that I played was Link's Awakening Deluxe version. So I'm definitely happy to have both of these in the collection now. And, you know, shout out to one of my local retro video game stores where I found all of these Game Boy Color games at. So yeah, definitely appreciate you, Mike. I'm glad to be able to add all 3 of these to my collection. Okay, so now it's time to take a look at some N64 games, starting off with Forsaken 64. And this game is pretty much about the desolation of planet Earth, right? So there was, I believe, some type of scientific experiment or phenomenon that occurred, and a shockwave pretty much destroyed Earth and all life on Earth. So what happened is the rest of the solar system or the rest of the universe pretty much abandoned Earth. Hey, it's been destroyed. You can go and, you know, search if you want to. You can go visit it, but, you know, forewarning, we're just gonna let it be. So in a sense, the entire solar system forsaken planet Earth, right? And the purpose of this game is that you play as a bounty hunter who travels to Earth in order to collect resources and treasures. But then you also find out that there's, you know, some sentinel robots that have inhabited Earth, and you have to destroy them as well. So this game is not only available on the N64, it's also available on the PS1 as well as PC. But the reason I picked up the N64 game is because there are, you know, some differences between itself and its other counterparts. They ended up changing, I believe, a little bit of the storyline for the N64 version, as well as the level design and the game mechanics in comparison to the PS1 and the PC game. So yeah, if you're definitely collecting for the N64, I definitely encourage you to pick this up. It's a, I'll say it's like a first-person shooter game where you can pretty much move in all directions. So full 360-degree rotation. You have that freedom of movement. It's a very unique title, not only for the 64, but also for the PS1. So yeah, Forsaken 64. Okay, the next game is a Wipeout 64. For those of you that are familiar with the Wipeout series, many of the games in this franchise, if not most of them, have come out specifically on PlayStation consoles. This is the only Wipeout game that you can find on a Nintendo console. Everything else is on PlayStation consoles, handheld and home consoles. So, you know, to say that I now own a Wipeout game on a Nintendo console, that's pretty cool. And yeah, if you're familiar with Wipeout or not familiar, it's a really cool high-pace racing arcade game that is amazing. You know, you fly around on these tracks, basically hovering on these different aircrafts here. So if you're interested in arcade racers, I highly encourage you to pick this up for the N64. Okay, next up is a 3D fighter game called Killer Instinct Gold. This is, I would say, a cult classic when it comes to fighting games in general, because, you know, some people, you know, love this franchise, others don't, and there's not as many games in comparison to some of the more notable fighting games. But yeah, I had to pick up Killer Instinct Gold, and I'm definitely ready to you know, hit that combo breaker as well. So if you're looking for an awesome fighting game on this console, definitely pick up Killer Instinct Gold. Okay, and the last game here is Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine. This is definitely a heavy hitter for the N64. I believe as of recent, there's been a resurgence in interest for this specific game. And I don't know if that's due to, you know, the most recent game that came out on modern platforms. But yeah, there's been a lot of interest building up lately for this game. And what's unique about this game is that it's a third-person action-adventure platformer game where you play as Indiana Jones. You're going through different levels to collect treasures and, you know, to take out the bad guys as well. You have your whip, you have different weapons that you can use, and it's almost like a semi-open world game. The levels are very expansive. You can even swim. If you're familiar with the Tomb Raider games that came out on the PC as well as for the PlayStation 1, then you'll definitely hit home with this one. It's pretty much similar. But another unique thing about this Indiana Jones game is that it is the first you know, game in the franchise that is fully 3D. So I think that that's something that makes it very unique if you're looking to collect it for the N64. And I believe you could definitely find it maybe for like $80 or so, but yeah, it's definitely a heavy hitter for the N64. And looking at a few videos, I was informed that, you know, when it comes down to the levels that you go through, each level takes pretty much like an hour or more to complete. So, you know, if there's a game that I recommend that you buy to get the most bang for your buck, it's definitely Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine. And one last thing about the copy that I picked up is that it has a sticker for Blockbuster there. I thought that was really cool. You know, it says 1999 Blockbuster Incorporated, property of Blockbuster Video. So that's really cool. I definitely wanted to keep that sticker on there because it's a part of history. But yeah, if you are collecting for the N64 or you haven't heard of this game, I highly encourage you to seek it out as soon as possible because you will not be disappointed. So yeah, Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine. Okay, so those are all of the N64 games. Now it's time to move on to the one Nintendo DS game that I picked up. And that game is Glory of Heracles. Glory of Heracles. This is, you know, an RPG game where you play as this boy on the cover. He's the protagonist. And in this game, you pretty much wake up on the island of Crete, which is in ancient Greece, and you don't know how you got to that island. You don't know who you are, right? So there's like a common trope that you find in many role-playing and JRPG games where the character has amnesia, doesn't know, you know, how he ended up in the place where he landed, and is trying to figure out who he is. But, you know, on a, I would say, discovery of self, the protagonist finds out that he is immortal, and he ends up, you know, joining with some other characters to form a group. And these other characters, what they have in common is that they are also immortal. So now they're on a journey to figure out, you know, who they really are, and you know, in a sense, like go up to the gods of Olympus and question them to figure out, you know, why are they immortal? Where did they come from? What is their purpose? So yeah, this is like a turn-based battle RPG. Definitely one to look for the DS if you're into RPGs. Okay, let's see. Next, I am going to look at some NES games that I picked up. So starting off with Sky Kid. This is a really cool arcade shoot 'em up. that is very unique. Actually, you could play by yourself, you could play with another person, but yeah, it looks very fun, so I had to pick it up. And then the next game is Final Fantasy. I think this is really cool to own. As a fan of the series, and you know, I'm a huge fan of the lore of the Final Fantasy universe, I thought it would only be right that I would pick up the very first game released in North America on the NES, and I'm so happy to finally have this in my collection. So yeah, Final Fantasy for the NES. Okay, and now it's time for the Mega Man show, starting off with the very first Mega Man game for the NES. Man, so excited to finally pick up the very first game of Mega Man. I look forward to playing it as well. And yo, check out check out the front label. Like, he looks so funny on that cover. I think that's hilarious, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the Japanese version of this game has like a different, you know, a different art style for the character. But at least when it was released in, you know, North America, they ended up creating this artwork that you see here. And then we're gonna follow that up with Mega Man 2. Really clean copy here. And then also Mega Man 3 that we see right here. Really cool stuff. So yeah, with that being said, I have, you know, the first 3 Mega Man games. I am on a mission to collect Mega Man 4 through 6 on the NES, and we'll be looking for those within the coming months. But until then, you might have saw this in the thumbnail. I was able to pick up this mini HD console, I guess you can call it, and it's a little like Mega Man mini console where they have the first 6 NES games on this console. So if you are wanting to pretty much just play all of the original Mega Man games, you know, 1 through 6, then you can definitely go and track this down. You can buy it on eBay. I just happened to be in one of my local retro video game stores and found it there. Expect to pay like $30 or $25. But with that being said, you have a mini console that has an HDMI that you can hook up to your TV to play all 6 Mega Man games. The controller here is designed after the Sega Genesis, so in reality, you honestly don't need all of these buttons. You really just need the D-pad and the 2 buttons here. And I've seen it to where people have actually installed other ROMs on this console to make it an emulation console. There's videos of people playing like, you know, Super Mario Brothers on here, like the NES version. So I think that's really cool that you can actually, you know, convert it to an emulation console. I personally don't plan on doing that as of right now. I really just want to be able to play all of the Mega Man games, and you know, I think at some point it'll be cool to do like a future video where I test out all of the games on this console here. But yeah, in the meantime, while I am collecting for all of the NES Mega Man games, this is like a great alternative. So yeah, happy to have this in the collection. Okay, so now it's time to take a look at some PlayStation 1 games that I picked up, starting off with Running Wild. Right, Running Wild. If you're wondering what this game is, you might be confused by the cover, but this is like an on-foot racing arcade game that's made from the same developers as Crash Bandicoot. So yeah, really unique. You play these like humanoid animals, and you basically run through the levels. So it's a racing game on foot. This is a really unique racing game. Some people have not heard of it, and I'm glad to have discovered it, mainly because of an OG Xbox title that I believe to be a sequel to this game, and that game is called Mad Dash Racing. So if you are a collector for the original Xbox and you played Mad Dash, but you also, you know, want to see maybe where that idea stemmed from, then definitely take a look at Running Wild and you will not be disappointed. So yeah, that's the first one. Okay, next up is another quirky, unique game for the PS1, and it's called Spider. You can see it here, it's called Spider. So yeah, with this game, you basically are a scientist that implanted his consciousness into a spider, and now you have to escape your own lab. And this is no ordinary spider. If you look close here on the front cover, you'll see that, you know, the spider has a knife as well as a gun here. But basically, yeah, this is like a, you know, pretty much a cybernetic spider that has weapons, and you have to escape the lab that you are in. That's like the purpose of the game. So you're gonna be transversing different surfaces and platforms to a level, killing off your enemies using different weapons that you have. Man, such a unique and interesting premise for a game, but definitely worth one picking up if you're looking for some of those like weird, strange titles for the PS1. So yeah, Spider. All right, the next game is Tiny Tank. Look at that, Tiny Tank. This game is pretty much, I would say like a third-person action game where you play as this tank. And as far as the storyline, or like the premise of this game, is that there are some, you know, still robots who are trying to take over mankind. They're trying to destroy, you know, the humans. And pretty much, you know, our savior, or the person that's going to prevent that from happening, is this tank. But he also has all these different like weapons that are unique to him that you can use to destroy his enemies, which I think is really cool. On the back, it says he has Gatling guns, infrared warheads, mortars, freeze guns, and even like an 80mm cannon nose and more. So it's the fact that, like, you know, he looks like a tiny tank, but he packs like a huge punch because he has a bunch of different customizable weapons. That is really cool. So yeah, if you were looking for another unique title for the PS1, definitely pick this one up. Expect to pay like $20 to $25 on the high end in order to get this game, but it's definitely one worth looking for. All right, and the next game is an awesome fighting game. It is Capcom versus SNK Pro. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to have this. I actually picked this game up recently, very recently, within the last week or so. And look at that, it is complete with the manual. It looks super clean. Ended up, you know, seeing this on Facebook Marketplace and met up with the seller and paid him to get this game. But yeah, man, after, you know, getting the Capcom versus SNK 2 for the PS2, I've been wanting to, you know, make sure that I collect these games. They're just so responsive, really great. I believe this game has 30 characters. And we're talking about the SNK series. I'm referring to King of Fighters, Samurai Showdown, just to name a couple there. And then of course with Capcom, it's pretty much notoriously just Street Fighter. So imagine Street Fighter characters versus the characters in the other two franchises that I mentioned. So yeah, definitely excited to dive into Capcom versus SNK Pro. All right, now the next game is pretty special, right? It's actually a demo disc for PlayStation Underground. If you are not familiar with PlayStation Underground, it was one of the early magazines that PlayStation had where, you know, each magazine would have a demo disc that would come with it. So you would basically, you know, sign up for a subscription to receive these in the mail. And they're so unique, right? This one is specifically for Final Fantasy VII, which I think is really cool, right? So if you are like a JRPG fan and you love demo discs, I definitely encourage you to pick this up. You can see Squaresoft down there. But yeah, this is the demo disc for Final Fantasy VII, right? So this is what Final Fantasy VII looked like and played like before it was officially released. And not only that, but there's even, you know, another disc here. I believe it's this one, right? Where it has other demos for other games such as Bushido Blade, Final Fantasy Tactics, and Sega Frontier. So you not only get the demo disc for Final Fantasy VII, you also get like a second disc with additional demos for other, you know, JRPG games. But yeah, man, super exciting to have found this at a local retro video game store and happy to have this in the collection. So speaking of Final Fantasy VII, this next game actually has Final Fantasy VII characters within it. And that game is Guys, or as I like to pronounce it, Guys. God Bless the Ring. First of all, that is a very funny title in my opinion, but this is a 3D fighting game and it features some more notable characters from Final Fantasy VII, such as Cloud and Sephiroth. You can actually see Cloud on the front cover here, and even on the back, there's Cloud again. They're really marketing this game through like the Final Fantasy characters, and then there's Sephiroth in that picture there. But yeah, this is a like a 3D fighting action game, and it also includes an RPG element to it, where you get to go into these randomized dungeons to look for treasures and even stronger weapons. So yeah, talk about an insane combination, or a unique combination for a game where it's not only a fighting game or like a 3D action game, but it's also an RPG as well. So definitely happy to have this in the collection now. This is definitely a heavy hitter for the PlayStation 1. Okay, and the last two PlayStation games that I picked up recently, these are considered to be grails by a lot of people. I have never played these games before, but through an amazing opportunity with one of my local retro video game stores, I was able to trade in some games for store credit and ended up getting these games essentially for free. So the first game I want to start off with is Lunar Silver Story Complete. Yes, that is correct. And I ended up buying this acrylic case to protect it. Yeah, this is complete. This is complete. There's nothing missing from it. It has the manual, it has all the disc and everything, even the map. So yeah, I'm happy to have this in the collection now. Definitely something that I was able to knock off my list. Yeah, really cool. And then the second game, that's right, couldn't just get the first game, but I had to get the second game. And this is Lunar 2 Eternal Blue Complete. And yeah, it is also complete as well. It has everything that comes with it, including the pendant. I think the pendant is one of the hardest things to find with this game whenever you're searching for it. But whoever this character is, like, you have her pendant within the box here. Yeah, really cool stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely happy to have both of these in the collection now. I think that's so cool. And since the HD remaster for these games come out in April, at least I was able to get the originals in the meantime until those remasters come out. So yeah, the Lunar series. All right, now we're gonna move on to some more games here. I have, let's see, one PSP game, one PS3 game, some Wii games, mostly Xbox, and like a couple of GameCube games. But let's go and start off with the PSP game. And this is Silent Hill Origins. This is the pretty much the first game in the Silent Hill franchise. And this game tells the story and the origins of Silent Hill before the first game that you play on the PlayStation 1. And yeah, you can see that it is complete here. Definitely happy to have this. I know that they ported over the PSP version here to the PlayStation 2, and I do plan on picking the PlayStation 2 version up because I am on another mission to collect all of the Silent Hill games. So yeah, as far as the PSP games go, I gotta look out for Shattered Memories as well, but at least I have Silent Hill Origins to start that. Okay, the next game is PlayStation Network Volume 1. If you're wondering about the cover and everything, this is actually in French. This is like the version that was released in Canada, but it's still considered to be like a North American version for this game. And it actually has 4 different digital games that are embedded on the disc. And those games are When Vikings Attack, Sound Shapes, Tokyo Jungle, and Fat Princess. I honestly picked this up because of Tokyo Jungle. Tokyo Jungle is like a very unique post-apocalyptic game. It's like survival game where you play as both domestic and wild animals. And it's the fact that you're in, the barren lands of Tokyo, right? Like Tokyo has been destroyed and all these animals are pretty much having to survive. And it's the idea that you have to literally hunt your way to the top, right? So you could play, as any type of animal that you could really think of. It could be like a small dog, which is what you see here on the front cover, which is hilarious, to, you know, playing an elephant or like a giraffe or even a zebra. But it's the aspect is that you team up with other animals and you have to pretty much like, you know, move as a squad and move your way up to the food chain, defend yourself from other enemies that may want to attack you. So yeah, definitely a very interesting and unique game. That is the reason why I decided to pick this up, the PlayStation Network Volume 1. This game is definitely sought after, so if you can find it for a really good price, definitely pick it up. Okay, and now to move on to some Wii games, starting off with Centipede Infestation here. Yeah, this is like a little bit of a twist for the original Centipede game. If you ever played the arcade game, then you know that there's like, you know, a centipede moving around, and you pretty much have to like, you know, move the centipede to different areas within the level. And if you hit like a obstacle or like a wall, then a portion of the centipede gets destroyed. But yeah, this is like a little bit of a twist where you play as this character Max here, and he's basically helping this girl here, Macy, to defend her garden against these like giant alien bugs that have infested her garden. So really cool, unique game for the Wii. If you are looking for something unique, then definitely pick this up. Be expected to pay like $10 or less for this game. You can still get this game nowadays, but if you don't have it for your Wii collection, definitely pick it up. Okay, next game is Okami. I'm not gonna spend too much time talking about this game because everyone should know what this game is about, but this is the Wii version, and if you want to get this game, you can get it on the PS2 as well as the PS4. I believe the PS4 is higher in value as far as like, you know, buying it, but I believe Video Games Plus ended up doing a reprint of the PS4 game where you could still get it on there. But anyhow, yeah, I saw Okami, had to pick it up for the Wii. I'm excited to use the motion controls instead of a controller to paint the brush, you know, throughout the game. So yeah, Okami for the Wii. Next up is Radea the Sky Soldier. The only thing I know about this game is that you play as an android and you are basically defending your city, which consists of several smaller cities within the sky, right? So you're flying around and defeating enemies that way. But yeah, I know this game is also available, I believe, on the 3DS as well as the Wii U, but from what I've heard from many people, the Wii version is the definitive edition. But yeah, this is an NIS game. It is complete. Happy to have it in the collection. All right, next up is a survival horror, you know, adventure game for the Wii, and it is called Cursed Mountain. I'm really enjoying picking up these like unique titles for the Wii because there's a lot of people out there that, you know, say so much crap about the Wii. They always say that the Wii doesn't have like really great games and that's just full of shovelware. But if you actually dive really deep into the library for the Wii, you will find some very unique titles, and this is definitely one of them. Now in this game, you play as this guy here, and he's basically is going on a mission to search for his lost brother. His brother was sent on this like expedition in the Himalayan mountains, which you can see in the background here. And you know, he decides to go looking for his brother because his brother is missing, and he ends up you know, getting himself involved in a crazy survival horror situation. So yeah, if you're looking to pick up a unique title for the Wii, definitely pick up Cursed Mountain. All right, so those are all of the Wii games. It's time to move on to the one Xbox 360 game that I picked up, and that is the Serious Sam collection. I'm not gonna go into detail about this, but you know, you should know what the Serious Sam collection is if you played these games on the PC back in the day. And yeah, it basically features 4 Serious Sam games as well as some DLC. So yeah, there we go. And now for the OG Xbox, starting off with Robotech Invasion. I kind of consider this to be like maybe the poor man's version of Halo, so to speak, but the meaning and the purpose of this game as far as the storyline is in the title itself, right? So mankind, and I think this takes place in the 21st century, right? So mankind has, you know, found this alien technology called Robotech, and now they are defending Earth from this like parasitic alien species called Invid. So that's where the invasion comes from. Yeah, if you're looking for a third-person action adventure game with like a bunch of different weapons and like cool vehicles, then definitely check this out on the OG Xbox. All right, the next game is Gunmetal Mech to Jet and Back, and literally that's what this game is. I don't know the full storyline of this game, but I do know that the mech that you play as, or in this case is known as the Havoc suit, it literally can transform into a jet immediately, and then you can transform back into a mech. So there's gameplay where you're on the ground as well as in the sky. Really, really cool, and also complete. So if you're wanting to collect all of the mech games for the original Xbox, Gunmetal is definitely one to get for sure. All right, the next game is Guilty Gear X2, the Midnight Carnival Reload. Right, so are there any Guilty Gear fans out there? Any 2D anime fighter fans out there? Then you definitely want to pick this up for the OG Xbox. All right, next game is an exclusive for the Xbox. Now this game may be on other consoles, I'm just not sure, I haven't done my research, but it does say only on Xbox, and that's Metal Slug 3 here. So yeah, you can play Metal Slug on the OG Xbox, which is really cool. And then these next two games are wrestling games. We have Backyard Wrestling, Don't Try This at Home, and then Backyard Wrestling, There Goes the Neighborhood, right? So what are you getting with these games? You're getting Backyard Wrestling. You're able to, you know, pick up different weapons. There are no rules. You know, the environments are destructible. And some people even say that this is maybe similar to, you know, Def Jam Fight for New York, as far as the mechanics during the gameplay. So yeah, I'm happy to own both of these in the collection now. Definitely look forward to checking these out for sure. And we got another fighting game, everyone. It is SNK versus Capcom Chaos, or SVC Chaos for the OG Xbox. Now, this game is no longer an exclusive title to the OG Xbox. I believe it was recently released for the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4. But if you're looking to collect maybe for the older consoles such as the OG Xbox, you're gonna want to pick this up. And yeah, like I said, since I've discovered the SNK versus Capcom fighting series through the second game on the PS2, I've been wanting to collect all the titles you know, within the franchise, and this one happens to be exclusive to the OG Xbox. So yeah, SVC Chaos. Okay, and now I definitely have a heavy hitter for the original Xbox, and that is the Punisher. Look at Frank Castle there. This is honestly one of the coolest front covers of a video game that I've ever seen, because it has a symbol in the background and he's holding a couple of weapons here, which is awesome. But yeah, if you are a fan of, you know, Frank Castle, the Punisher, speaking of, you know, I'm can't wait for the new series to drop with John Berthel, right, playing as Frank Castle. But yeah, if you're looking for a really cool you know, superhero game or vigilante game, then definitely look out for this one. You can also find this one on the PS2, but I believe the Xbox version is the more definitive version for sure. So yeah, you get to basically, you know, interrogate and even torture your enemies, and there's a really cool original storyline that is embedded in this game. So yeah, the Punisher. All right, next up is you know, what some people may consider to be a Grail for the original Xbox. It's definitely part of a survival horror video game franchise that some people do consider to be labeled as a Grail. And if you're wondering what that is, it is Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly Director's Cut. Yes, this is the second Fatal Frame game. And you know, what's unique about the original Xbox is that they released the first Fatal Frame game and this Fatal Frame game on it, but this is like the enhanced version. These games can be found on the PlayStation 2. Those are the original, you know, releases of the franchise 1 through 3. but with the original Xbox, they decided to release the first 2 games and enhance them. So this is like the definitive version of Fatal Frame 2. And now that I have this one, that completes my original Xbox sub collection for the Fatal Frame series. And as far as the PS2, I still need to get the first 2 games. But yeah, definitely happy to have Fatal Frame 2 in the collection now. Okay, and now it's time to move to some Nintendo GameCube games, starting off with Mega Man Network Transmission. Really, really cool. On the back here, it says that this is the first 3D action role-playing adventure game for Mega Man on the Nintendo GameCube. So that's very unique. If you are familiar with the Battle Network games, there's like a ton of games on the Game Boy Advance. And I believe last year, or maybe the year before, it was probably last year, the Battle Network collection was released for the PS4 as well as the Switch. Well, this is the only Battle Network game that's not included in that collection. So if you're wanting to collect all of the Mega Man Battle Network games, this is one that you need to look out for. I was able to pick this up at, GameStop, and it's not complete. It just has the disc, no manual, but hey, I'll take it. I'll take it. You can probably expect to maybe pay like $15 to $25 on the high end if you want to add this to your collection. Okay, next game. Capcom versus SNK2EO, right? So I believe I mentioned earlier that I have this game for the PS2, but it's not the EO version. The EO version is only available on the Nintendo GameCube as well as the Xbox. So yeah, I definitely had to pick it up. Once again, super excited to have recently discovered the series. I'm surprised that I did not discover the Capcom versus SNK series sooner, or that I didn't take a liking or interest in it, but I'm definitely happy to have this now. And yeah, best believe, I believe later on this year or in a few months, maybe in the summer, Capcom is going to release its fighting game collection volume 2 that has the Capcom versus SNK games, the first game and the sequel in it. So I'm gonna be excited to pick up those games on the or that collection on the PS4 and the Switch. But in the meantime, happy to have this for the GameCube. And man, this last Nintendo GameCube game, I'm just processing it all because this is one game that I have been on the hunt forever, right? And I remember when it was like, below $100, and then after a certain point in time, it just shot up above 100. But the cool thing is that I had a lot of like trading credit at one of my local retro video game stores, and I was able to get this game for free. And as a huge fan of this franchise, I'm so happy to finally have The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess for the GameCube. It is complete with the manual and disc. I will not show that here, but yeah, it's in this plastic protector for a reason. And yeah, I have this game for the Wii, but I wanted to experience the game without the motion controls. I heard that the Wii port is a little bit messy when it comes to the motion controls, so I'm so happy to finally have this in my collection. And this game is also available on the Wii U. There's like an HD port of this game, but since I don't have a Wii U console, I definitely wanted to make sure that I get it for the Nintendo GameCube. So yes, this is a Grail that I can finally add to my GameCube collection. So awesome. Okay everyone, so I got my very last stack of games here, and in notable fashion, we must end off on the best of the best. If you've been watching my channel for a while, then you know that the PS2 is my most favorite console of all time. So it's only right that I end the video showing you all the titles that I was able to pick up recently. Starting off with the King of Fighters 11. Once again, the 11th installment, maybe more than 11th, because these games are on multiple consoles. But anyhow, definitely happy to have found the King of Fighters 11 for the PS2. Then I have SmackDown, just bring it. Look at the rock there, right? There's like a few SmackDown games that I'm looking for to add to my collection. I still need to pick up Here Comes the Pain with Brock Lesnar on the front. But yeah, I mean, classic wrestling, one of the golden age of wrestling, at least for my generation. So yeah, happy to have this in the collection. Okay, the next game is Dark Angel, not to be confused with Dark Angel with Jessica Alba, but this is Dark Angel Vampire Apocalypse, where you play as this woman here. Her name is Anna, and she's pretty much going up against this evil being called the Shadow Lord and his armies. And yeah, this is a like an action hack and slash game. If you like, you know, Diablo or like Baldur's Gate, you'll feel right at home with this one. This game is definitely cheap. You can maybe find it for like $10 or less in pre-owned condition. But yeah, definitely happy to finally have this in the collection. Look forward to playing it. Okay, so the next game is Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time talking about this game, mainly because this game has been ported over to the PS3. Many people know Ratchet & Clank, but I am on a mission to collect all of the Ratchet & Clank games on the PS2, Black Label only, no greatest hits label. I already have Going Commando. This is Up Your Arsenal, which I believe is the third game. And yeah, I'm still on the hunt for the very first game. So anyhow, Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal. Okay, so the next game is Shadow of Destiny. This is an adventure game where you play as this character right here on the front cover. He is the protagonist, and pretty much in the game, you've been murdered and you have to go back, or basically you've been given a second chance to go back in time to figure out who killed you and prevent your murder from happening. So in a sense, you are changing your destiny, and that's why they call it Shadow of Destiny. This is one game that has flown under the radar for a very long time, but if you are into those story-driven adventure games and the fact that it has a time element and it has a murder mystery component involved, I highly recommend that you pick up Shadow of Destiny for the PlayStation 2. All right, and the next three games is a franchise. I'm just gonna show all three here, but it is the Hitman franchise here. So we have Hitman Blood Money, Hitman Silent Assassin, and then Hitman Contracts. I was able to pick all three of these games up at GameStop recently, and ultimately these three games form a box set for the PS2. The reason is because if you look on the back here, it says part of a set. And this is probably the one box set that I do not own for the PlayStation 2. Normally I would get the box and the games included, but since I saw it at GameStop for like, you know, $6 to $7 per game, I could not pass up on and had to pick it up. But yeah, if you are into the whole, you know, secret agent, assassin type style games, tactical espionage games, then look out for Hitman with Agent 47. So yeah, let me know, who do you think will win in a fight, right? Like if we take, you know, Agent 47 from the Hitman franchise, and let's just say Gabe Logan from the Siphon Filter franchise, Solid Snake from the Metal Gear Solid franchise or the Metal Gear series, and then Sam Fisher from the Splinter Cell series, who do you think would win in a fight? Like if we take, you know, these four characters and put them in like an abandoned building or like a large warehouse, who do you think would come out on top? Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, moving forward with the next PS2 game, I have Killer 7. This game is also available on the Nintendo GameCube, which is the more sought after version, but I was happy to, you know, have found this locally. So Killer 7 is, it's an action game where you play as this assassin that has 7 different personalities, right? So he has like 7 different personalities. You can see all of them on the cover. And the purpose of this game is that you are trying to take down this like terrorist organization from like destroying the world. And, you know, you were sought after because you like are an assassin. You were hired to take out, you know, this terrorist group. But yeah, really unique game. Like pretty unique, I would say. If you're looking for those weird, quirky type style games, definitely check this one out. But it's really cool to know that you play as one assassin that has 7 different personalities. So yeah, Killer 7 for the PS2. All right, the next game is one that is also quirky and weird, but also very unique to the PS2. I don't think there's another game like it out there. And that game is Dog's Life for the PS2. In this game, you play as this hound dog here. His name, I believe, is Jake. Yep, Jake. And in this game, his love interest, this other dog, her name is Daisy. She is dog napped. And you go on this adventure playing as Jake to track down where Daisy is at and rescue her from this woman here. But essentially, yeah, this is an adventure game where you play as a dog. And I mean, you literally play as a dog. You're not just playing with dogs like Nintendogs, but you take on the role as a dog. So let me just read the back a little bit, right? It says, this is the world's first game where you can truly be a dog. Dog's life allows you to take on the role of a lifelike hound rather than prancing around as a bipedal canine caricature. So you can play fetch, sniff out food, chase chickens, and explore your world doggy style. So yeah, what can I say is that, like, when it comes to the PS2 game, there are just so many unique titles that can fly under the radar. And I believe this is one of those games that isn't appreciated enough. But yeah, if you are a PS2 collector, I highly encourage you to get this game as soon as possible. If you like dogs, if you're like a dog person, definitely pick up this game where you can play as a dog. You can travel the world through a dog's eyes. They even have a gameplay mechanic called Smell-O-Vision, where it goes into like a first-person view from Jake's perspective, and you can see different colors that represent different scents throughout the game. So, you know, if there's like, you know, food over here or like a trash can over here, you know, there could be like a trail that leads to that has a certain color associated with that specific scent. So yeah, definitely look out for this game. Not many people talk about this. It's one of those games, like I mentioned before, that flies under the radar. So you're gonna wanna pick up this game as soon as possible if you are a PS2 collector. All right, next up is Manhunt. What can I say? The first one in the series. I'm still looking for the second one. By now you should know the controversy behind this game, because it's very violent, very brutal when it comes to like executions and whatnot. But yeah, definitely happy to have the first Manhunt game, and I'm looking for the second one. All right, and the next two games have definitely been on my list for a long time too. Just like, you know, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, and they're hack and slash games. If you are familiar with Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 1 and 2, as well as Bard's Tale, if you're interested in those type of hack and slash games, then you're definitely gonna wanna pick up these two titles. And they are Champions of Norrath and Champions Return to Arms. So happy to finally have these two games in the collection. Now, I've been wanting these games for the longest, but I always wanted to find these games in mint condition and was able to do so online. So yeah, happy to have these for sure. Okay, and I have finally come to the final PlayStation 2 game that I've been able to pick up. This is a Grail for the console, as stated by several people. If you are into hack and slash games, you got to pick up this game. If you love Atlas games, because of how unique that they are, you're gonna want to pick up this game. And it is called Samurai Western. Look at that, Samurai Western. Now, what's unique about this game is that you play as this samurai swordsman, and he travels from Japan to the United States to search for his brother, which I believe he wants to kill. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but he's searching for his brother to kill. So this is one of those like stories or video games where it's like, you know, coming to the West or going from the East side of the world to the Western side of the world. But anyhow, it takes place in the 1800s in the United States, and is pretty much set in the Wild Wild West. And you play as this, you know, this samurai swordsman. When you get to the Wild Wild West, there's this businessman that has pretty much like, you know, taken captive of different settlements with his gang, and you basically encounter this businessman and all of his goons or thugs, and you know, you have a sword, they have guns, so you know what's next. You get a chance to fight them and everything. But yeah, this is a really cool, unique game. if you are collecting for the PlayStation 2, and I highly recommend that you pick it up if you don't have it in your collection. So yeah, with that being said, this is the last PlayStation 2 game to show off and the last pickup in this video. Okay everyone, thank you all so much for tuning in to today's video where I was able to share all of my most recent retro video game pickups. I hope that you all enjoyed this video. I hope that there are some titles that you've either never heard of that you want to add to your collection, or there may be some titles that you do have in your collection but you just haven't played in a while. So yeah, let me know in the comments down below, you know, what was your favorite pickup of this video, and are there any titles that I showed in this video that you are wanting to add to your own personal collection. So yeah, with that being said, once again, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned because there will be a future video where I will be showcasing only modern games. So if you like this type of content and you are not subscribed to the channel, I definitely encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button for this video and make sure that you change your bell settings to all notifications. That way you can be informed whenever I drop a new video. So I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Until then, I'm out.